Well, thank you. I am going to talk about xenophobia and how it has affected immigrant entrepreneurs who operate businesses in the informal economy. In May 2008, an estimated 62 people were killed in one of the largest outbreaks of xenophobic violence in South Africa. There were reports of widespread damage to property owned by foreign nationals. A report by XenoWatch shows that a total of 2,200 immigrant-owned shops were looted between 1998 and 2018. Unfortunately, xenophobic violence against African immigrants has become a commonplace, common phenomenon throughout South Africa. The United Nations, it has used the term xenophobia to describe the attitudes, prejudices, and behavior that reject, exclude, and often vilify persons based on the perception that they are outsiders or foreigners to the community, society, or national identity. Immigrant-owned businesses are frequently portrayed by officials, citizens, and the media as having a negative impact on the South African economy, in that they undermine the livelihoods of South Africans. The prevalence of such perceptions, it helps to explain a growing xenophobic sentiments against immigrants and refugees. So in a bid to counter some of these negative stereotypes that are associated with foreigners, especially those that operate these informal businesses, the Southern African Migration Program, with funding from the IDRC, it conducted research in Cape Town between 2014 and 2015 to examine the contribution made by immigrants and refugees to the South African economy. So our reasoning was that by demonstrating the positive contributions that immigrants and refugees make to the South African economy, we might make the South African citizens view these individuals in good light. So some of these attacks on immigrants, they are fueled by stereotypes and myths that are perpetrated through the popular media. And one of the myths is that African immigrants, they lack valid immigration status, that is, they are undocumented immigrants. So our research findings, they show that contrary to popular belief, most African immigrants have a legal right to be in South Africa and to run a business. Only 7.4% are undocumented immigrants. And the second myth that we addressed in the study was that African immigrants, they are bad for the South African economy. And our research, it showed that immigrant entrepreneurs, they pay rent to either the local city council or to South African landlords. And the average rent that they paid per month was around $220. And for our sample, we administered a questionnaire to about 518 respondents. So for our sample, that translated to about $80,000 that was brought in by those immigrant entrepreneurs, or nearly $1 million per year. So we see that these immigrant entrepreneurs and refugees, they actually play a big role in South Africa's economy. And furthermore, our research, it found that most immigrant entrepreneurs source their goods from local suppliers and therefore support South African manufacturing, and they also promote job creation. And the third myth that we addressed was that the immigrant entrepreneurs, they take away jobs from South Africans. Our research findings, they show that immigrant entrepreneurs, they play an important role in employment creation. The immigrant entrepreneurs from our sample created a total of 644 jobs, including family employment. So some, they say that we shouldn't count family employment. So if we exclude family employment, that gives us about nearly 500 jobs, which for our sample translates to about one non-family job created per immigrant entrepreneur. So what it basically means is that every immigrant entrepreneur create one job for a non-family member. And as many as 57% of these jobs that were created, they went to South Africans. So they are creating employment for South Africans. And nearly 3/4 of the non-family jobs were full-time jobs. So despite the critical role that they play in the South African economy, xenophobia poses a serious threat to their business operations. So nearly half of our respondents, they say that their business operations have been affected by xenophobia. So where a migrant comes from, it appears to influence how susceptible their business operations are to xenophobia. And on a rather disturbing note, when these instances of violence, say when they have had their shops looted, when they have been beaten, so when they report these instances to the police, to local law enforcement, nothing is done at all. So in conclusion, systematic research is required in order to counter some of these negative stereotypes on African immigrants in South African society. And our research demonstrates that rather than being a drain to the South African economy, African immigrants and refugees play a positive role in South Africa's economy and society. Thank you.